Now I'm going to read a really great commentary about the speech by Biden. Okay, this is the piece is in the New York Times, and it's by Miranda Devine. Miranda Devine was the woman that was involved with when they, she was digging into the Hunter Biden laptop when they when they when the Biden the administration started to well, it wasn't the Biden administration at the time because it was during the 2016 to 2020 election, and when the post was uh, suppressed, and they was calling it fake news, and the things that Victor Davis Hanson was just talking about. And she was one of the lead reporters on that about the Biden lifetime. She put out a book called, I think it was called The Laptop from Hell. And she put out another book about Biden and the basically crime family. She's a New York Post columnist, a Fox News contributor. I always like to give full credit and promote these people who are really good. She's really important. She also works for the Australian media as a Daily Telegraph columnist and a Sky News contributor. She was born in Queens, New York. She grew up in Tokyo and Sydney, all right, and attended Northwestern University in Chicago. A reformed mathematician and a mother of two. She lives in New York with her husband. It's a Miranda Devine. So I'm going to put up the Post article and share it, and let's read it together. It's she does a nice job. She's very, very bright. Is another name to keep your eyes out for. Miranda Devine. She's someone that we should look to. And as far as trust goes, I give her my endorsement. Okay, Miranda Devine. Self-deluded Biden is spending his last days as president, showcasing all the same lies and cementing his tarnished legacy. There he is. There he is in the Oval Office. Okay, here we go. Let's sit back and enjoy. Joe Biden is leaving office the way he came in, under a cloud of self-delusion and amid a rancid stench of lies. He promised to be a standard bearer of decency, a respecter of norms and the rule of law. He presented himself as a unifier who would help the country heal after the pandemic, a man of integrity and impeccable character, unlike his wretched predecessor. Yet behind closed doors, in the devious recesses of his soul, Joe plotted and planned just two things: self-aggrandizement and vengeance. Joe paid lip service to a grab bag of virtuous goals, but really, he was all about himself, as he has been all his life. Hence his Jerry Springer style family life that he and Jill always dressed up as the Waltons. Now he leaves office as the most unpopular president in history, other than Richard Nixon, according to a Gallup poll. In the days before his failed presidency vanishes, he and Jill are scurrying around, delivering set-piece speeches and soft soap interviews in a vain effort to craft a glowing legacy. His farewell address from the Oval Office on Wednesday night was the last of these scripted delusions, studded with lies and boast and grandiose lines from history written by others. The most divisive president in recent memory claimed he had, quote, kept my commitment to be president for all Americans, close quote. The president, whose administration and deep state protectors bullied social media companies into censoring American speech, including the New York Post, that's her paper, claimed to champion, quote, free and independent press. Guy is audacious, man. Marked by mendacity. The congenial liar, whose career is marked by plagiarism, mendacity, and corruption, warned of a future in which, quote, the truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. Everything he says, he's guilty of. Wow. The man whose family raked in millions from selling his influence to shady oligarchs and Chinese Communist Party elite entities, who just gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to George Soros, railed against dark money. The speech would not have changed a single mind about Biden's legacy. Nobody is fooled. He also released a farewell letter Wednesday, laughingly claiming he has left the country stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Nothing could be further from the truth. On his watch, America is embroiled in two proxy wars. Tens of millions of unvetted illegal immigrants are roaming the country. We just suffered the second worst terrorist attack since 9/11, and inflation has ravaged the middle class. The president, who weaponized the Justice Department against his political enemies and regularly defamed Donald Trump and his supporters as fascist, also claimed he was a unifier. We came together as Americans. We came together as Americans, and we emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure, close quote. Nobody buys it. His legacy can be discerned in two special counsel reports out this week. Trump, Hunter, Jack Smith's last gasp to assert that the president-elect would have been convicted if he hadn't won the election. Hunter Biden, protector turned prosecutor, David Weiss's flimsy 27-page report whitewashed his sham investigation of the first son in Delaware, which would have resulted in zero charges if IRS investigators Gary Shapley and Joe Ziegler hadn't blown the whistle on DOJ obstruction. But the American people saw the lawfare and corruption for what it was and rejected Joe Biden at the ballot box. Of course, Biden doesn't see the election results as a rejection of him. He claimed last week he would have won the election if his party hadn't pushed him aside. Seizing credit. Vainglorious and small until the bitter end, Biden called a press conference Wednesday to seize personal credit for the hostage deal in Israel. Without a mention of Trump, despite Israeli and Arab officials alike crediting the president-elect with the breakthrough. Quote, if they, the hostages, are not back by the time I get into office, all hell is going to break out, close quote. Trump warned Hamas and Iran last month. And sure enough, the Times of Israel reports that Trump hostage negotiator Steve Witkoff has done, quote, more to sway Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu than outgoing President Joe Biden did in a year, close quote. But when a reporter asked Biden how much credit Trump deserves for the deal, he replied, quote, well, this is the exact framework that I proposed back in May. Exact, close quote. So why weren't the hostages released back then? As he was leaving the podium, another reporter asked who should get credit for the deal, you or Trump? Biden stopped, turned his head with a smirk, and snarled, quote, is that a joke? Close quote. Then he turned on his heel and shuffled out the door. It was vintage Biden, a graceless grab for ego gratification that defines his character. Yes, legacy is terribly important to Joe and Jill. It consumes the couple. It is a family project, as the Washington Post characterized Jill's attitude in a schmaltzy interview published Wednesday in which she expressed bitterness about former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's role in knifing Joe. Quote, we were friends for 50 years. It was disappointing, Jill said. Despite the rancor, she is determined to burnish her own legacy as a healer who traveled the country to comfort Americans as they emerged from the depths of the pandemic. Her favorite event was a first state dinner for teachers overwhelmed by the pomp and ceremony she turned on. Quote, it took their breath away, close quote, she said with pride. She frets that, quote, people won't credit Joe for some of his achievements. I hope that they remember Joe as a strong, empathetic president with integrity and character. I mean, character really is everything, isn't it? Close quote. Yes, character is destiny. Joe's is carved in stone, now as permanently as the greats on Mount Rushmore, whose memory he sullied and whom Pelosi laughingly mused he might join. Bravo, bravo, bravo. What a great article, right? Wonderful writer, and just thoroughly in command of the last 4 years, the last 8 years. Okay, and just that's not much else to be said. Joe is on his way. He's the last presidential days, presidential in quotes, right? Because he was never very presidential. Complete gaslighting, and so let's move on to our next story here.